In a moment of deep symbolism and solemn joy, Pope Leo XIV reopened the sealed papal apartments of the Apostolic Palace on Sunday, May 11, 2025, following the traditional Regina Caeli blessing from the Central Loggia of St. Peter's Basilica. It was his first public Sunday address as pontiff, and the occasion drew a crowd of roughly 100,000 pilgrims from around the world, filling the square with chants, hymns, and flags waving in the spring sunlight. At the conclusion of the Regina Caeli prayer, a rite observed throughout the Easter season, Pope Leo XIV removed the wax seals affixed to the papal apartments, which had been solemnly placed following the death of Pope Francis on April 21st. The ceremonial unsealing marked the official re-entry into the historic residence of popes, a symbolic bridge between the mourning of a past shepherd and the hopeful dawn of a new one. The sealing of the papal apartments is a tradition rooted in centuries of Vatican protocol. When a pope dies, his private quarters are closed and sealed by the Camerlengo to signify the vacancy of the Holy See. On April 21st, that duty was carried out by Cardinal Kevin Farrell, assisted by senior Vatican officials. Ribbons and wax insignias were affixed to the doors of both the Apostolic Palace and the Casa Santa Marta. These seals are not removed until the new pope formally takes possession, making today's moment not only ceremonial but historic. Pope Leo's actions reflected more than adherence to tradition. Vatican officials emphasized that the reopening of the apartment symbolizes a renewal, both administrative and spiritual. It signifies a return to normalcy in the governance of the Church, but also the beginning of a papacy focused on unity, peace, and pastoral outreach. Observers noted the striking contrast between the solemn silence of the sealed doors weeks ago and today's eruption of joy and hope. The Apostolic Palace, a suite of rooms on the third floor, has been the formal papal residence since 1903, though Pope Francis notably declined to live there, preferring the simpler Casa Santa Marta. Whether Pope Leo XIV will continue his predecessor's more humble living arrangements or move into the traditional residence remains to be seen. But his decision to reopen the apartments publicly sent a clear message. The papacy continues, rooted in tradition but open to renewal. The Regina Caeli prayer, which replaced the Angelus during the Easter season, is a hymn that proclaims the resurrection and honors Mary as the Queen of Heaven. Recited or sung each Sunday from Easter through Pentecost, the prayer is an emblem of joy and new life in the Christian tradition. On this Sunday, Pope Leo led the prayer not from a window but from the central balcony, a deliberate choice that brought him physically and spiritually closer to the people gathered below. During his address, he called for just and lasting peace in Ukraine and an immediate ceasefire in Gaza, emphasizing the need for humanitarian aid and reconciliation.
As soon as possible, an authentic, just, and lasting peace. May all prisoners be freed, and may children return to their families. I am deeply saddened by what is happening in the Gaza Strip. Let the fire cease immediately. Let humanitarian aid be provided to the exhausted civilian population, and may all hostages be freed.
His words, echoing those of his predecessor, included the powerful plea, "Never again war." The Pope even sang a portion of the Regina Caeli hymn aloud, an emotional and personal touch that moved many in the crowd.
The immense tragedy of the Second World War ended 80 years ago, on May 8th, after causing 60 million victims. In today's dramatic scenario of a Third World War being fought piecemeal, as Pope Francis has repeatedly stated, I too appeal to the great ones of the world, repeating the ever-relevant plea, no more war.
Mi rivolgo anch'io ai grandi del mondo ripetendo l'appello sempre attuale. Mai più la guerra!
Flags from across the globe were seen in the square, with a notable presence of American and Peruvian banners, reflecting Leo's heritage and years of missionary service in South America. Born Robert Francis Prevost in Chicago, the new pope has a rich and unique background. An Augustinian friar by formation, he spent many years in Peru as a missionary before rising to prominence within the Vatican as prefect of the dicastery for bishops. On May 8th, he was elected as the 267th successor of Peter, the first pope born in the United States. His election is not only a milestone for American Catholics, but also a sign of the Church's increasingly global character. Even in today's rites, Pope Leo carried with him powerful symbols of identity and heritage. He wore a modest silver pectoral cross that holds later recalled how Pope Leo had felt a calling to the priesthood from an early age, and how his missionary zeal never wavered toward unity in a fractured world. As he stood before the crowds in St. Peter's Square, hands outstretched in blessing, voice lifted in prayer, many Catholics saw the message that amid grief, war, and uncertainty, the Church still stands. That its new leader, the pragmatism of American service, brings a fresh sense of purpose alive with the voice of a shepherd. For millions, and above all, a reminder that the ancient stones of the Vatican now echo with the hopes of a world looking to the future, guided by an American pontiff who speaks the language of peace.